to the show tonight. We're so excited. It is a phenomenal show for all of our panel. Brianna, I see that you're muted. Make sure that you're unmuted. But the reason I'm so excited about tonight's panel is one word. Is that one word that makes you successful in everything that you do, and that's competitive. These people are competitive to a fault. Like, they don't know when to say no. They don't know when to say quit. Like, the hurdlers on here would rather crash and burn than lose. And the silent killer on here is gotta be Chris Johnson. He be walking around like all incognito, like, I ain't even paying attention. And he be over there like, let's go, let's get him. Don't sleep on Chris. He be sneaking up on people. So I want to introduce you to our panel. Michelle Freeman, 3-time Olympian from Jamaica, was the first athlete in Jamaica to ever break the 13-second barrier. We've got Gail Devers, hurdle extraordinaire, who came in and was stealing 100 meters. She's got to be one of the most versatile sprint hurdlers, actually not just versatile, but successful sprint hurdlers in the history of the game. It just don't get no better when you can get a gold medal in what people considered your secondary event, which I'm sure she considered as an equal event, but phenomenal athlete from UCLA, Michelle, of course, from Florida. And then we've got the reigning Olympic champion, just a phenomenal competitor. And if there's any athlete I would compare in recent history to Michelle Freeman and Gail Devers' competitiveness, speed, power, and force of nature, it is Brianna Rollins. I mean, just a phenomenal, phenomenal athlete. And then, as I said, you have a phenomenal coach that sometimes people don't really know about because he's assistant coach. But those championships at Arkansas would never have happened without the phenomenal coaching ability and just the competitiveness. And for someone to instill that in their athletes on a regular basis, Chris has done that at Arkansas. He took a rather settled women's Arkansas sprint and hurdle program and put them at the forefront of the nation. I want to introduce you guys to Chris Johnson.
Hello.
So I want to start this with Michelle and Gail. Michelle Freeman and Gail Devers. Oh my goodness. We used to be at the meet and wonder not just which one of them would win, but if both of them could finish a race.
Okay.
Because they would be so fast, so fearless within the race, and they competed against each other. So Gail and Michelle, what was it like lining up against each other in the warm-up area?
Oh, let's see. You want to take it, Michelle?
No, you go ahead.
Well, you know what? Because Michelle was, and you know your competitor, so I knew she was fast, and so in the race, my mindset was, I am not going to get caught up in her rhythm because like you say, I want to finish the race. I'm not going to get caught up in her rhythm. I have to stay and I have to focus on my lane, my 10, 11, I say 12 hurdles, or races, and I just couldn't get caught up in her rhythm. But she was so fast that okay, well, wherever she's moving, I want to move right before she moves so that I don't get caught up. So it was always knowing your competitors. You don't focus on them, but you know them, you know what their assets are, and you just try to figure out how to work and execute what you've been taught.
Well, for me, like whenever I see Gail on the start list, I know that, it's about to go down. First of all, the kind of competitor I am, I don't get caught up into per se the person or the people that are running, I just want to win. And I don't care who was there. I just want to win. And, like Bev says, I have one goal, like one motto is just to go. Is either I crash and burn or I win. And, just my philosophy. And that's just the way I do it. I didn't ever, I admire Gail deeply as a competitor, but, and I respect her a lot too. But at the end of the day, we're going off the same thing. And, it's, me or Gail, bottling it out. So at the end of the day, it's, being the competitor we are, or we were. And I think we still are, as that doesn't change, who we are. We still are that person. So, it's just who we are. We just don't like to lose.
Excellent. I hope y'all got all of that, because now we're going to go to the modern day gladiator. And we picked up that word from the last Zoom we had. I hope y'all don't forget that. But we had Brianna win the Olympic Games. And Brianna, I know you went through a lot to get there. What was it like being on the line, not being a favorite, but knowing you had this passion to be the best, that you wanted that gold medal?
Honestly, I was very nervous. I think that was the most nervous I've ever been, because it was a different stage. But I kind of just look at it as if, any other track meet that I've been at, it's the same track, it's the same 10 hurdles that I'm racing. I've trained throughout this year to be where I am. So I knew that I was capable of achieving what I wanted to achieve, as long as I just, had faith in what I was doing. So, getting there, I just, had a tunnel vision, just every single round. I made sure I was focused each time and making sure that I, executed the best way that I could.
Excellent. So we've got stay focused on what you trained to do before you got in, Dr. Shaw. We got execute what you've trained to do, know your competitors, but don't allow your competitors to get in the way of your execution. Is that about right, everybody? So Chris, what is it like? I know when you came into Arkansas, the program was noted, but it wasn't necessarily noted as a sprint hurdle powerhouse. What did you infuse in that program to put it in such a prominent place at this point in time? How was that transition for you?
Well, I was at Penn State prior to that, and then nothing against Penn State, but I just felt like they didn't have what it would take to win. We were a trophy team a couple of times, but in terms of the resources and being able to attract the type of kids that I want to coach, they didn't have that. So when I came to Arkansas, I felt that was a platform that we could do that, but they didn't necessarily understand winning the way I want to win. So I think the first step was to get them to understand how to win. And that would be for them to understand that you really have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's really a charge that I've always had as a coach. But more importantly, with these young ladies that I have now and the ones that I've had previous to this team, that's what I would like to try to instill into them. You have to get uncomfortable. You got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's something that happens every day. I'll tell the kids, listen, or the young ladies, if you are not the best kid coming out of high school and you have the aspiration to be one of the best kids or the best kid in college, if you do the same thing that they're doing, how do you expect to beat them? So you have to do more. You have to be smarter, and you have to work harder, and you have to have that burning desire that comes from deep within that everyone has. But I think what happens in this modern day of kids, they don't like to be coached, and they're afraid that their best is not good enough. Mm. So I want that kid to find out what their best is, and we'll live with if it's good enough or not. But I think there's so much that's been held back from the athlete within themselves because they're afraid that their best is not good enough. Mm.
So Gail and Michelle and Brianna, I'll come back to you because Chris just dropped some serious knowledge on us. So I'm kind of got to build up off of that. All of you have experienced that one race where you felt like you were at your best and faltered? What is it like coming off of, because one of the things that Coach Johnson mentioned was the fact that, you know, moving to the next level and learning to be a championship. And part of that is working through your greatest losses. Can you describe that moment that you felt the real impact of a loss in your career, and what did it bring out in you? Because it's an individual decision before the coach even gets to the athlete to make that transition. Gail, I'm going to start that question with you.
Well, I guess if you ask in history, I guess it would be the 1992 Olympic Games in the 100-meter hurdles, where I was on a great pace. I knew each hurdle was already close. From the first hurdle, I was very close, and I clipped a couple of them, and it was just trying to get to the finish line. And I did. You know, when I set out to accomplish a goal, my goal is always to finish the race and to give it my best. And so on that day, I will still tell people I was successful, even though I slid across the finish line in fourth, fifth, whatever we were, but I did all I could. But I think that was the defining moment for me, because in my head, I just wanted to win a gold medal in the 100 meters, 100-meter hurdles, and then I was gone. But because it didn't happen the way I wanted it to happen, I always say, you know, I put my trust in God, and looking at my career now, sitting where I am at 54, I can look back and say everything happened the way it was supposed to. And because it didn't happen the way I thought it would, it inspired me to come back. And, you know, people talk a lot about, oh, with the 100-meter hurdles, and was that your curse? No, that was actually my blessing. Because in my pursuit of winning the Olympic gold medal or gold medals or American records or whatever, in my pursuit of that, it gave me a 25+ year career. And in that, it was do everything that you can. I mean, I'm like Michelle, I know one speed. It's all or nothing. And what I'm not going to do, whatever my, you know, best time in the 100 meters, that's what I want to take into the hurdles. And I will never sacrifice my speed to get over the hurdle. I just have to learn how to execute it a little bit faster. So because of that made Gail Devers what Gail Devers is. And I take that from the track into everything that I do every day in life. And it's all or nothing. You're only as good as your last performance, no matter what it is you're trying to perform and whatever it is you're trying to do.
Exceptional. Michelle, yours?
For me, it was the same year in 1992 at the University of Florida. In the previous year before that, I had some terrible downfalls. Like went to the NCAA championship, you know, grabbing one of my teammates, the different foot of shoe, came 8th. Very embarrassing. Went to the NCAA championship outdoors. Oh my God, that I, you know, didn't get out of the first round, was slated to win, didn't get out the first round. You know, to my surprise, you know, I was watching my teammate, you know, winning the 800 meter. And next thing you know, I get somebody jack me up in the back of my, turn around and I look, and that was Coach Bell. And she was like,
No, I didn't.
you know, she was like, you know, use that word. And I turned around and I looked at her. I was like, you know, as a Jamaican, I was taught, you know, always respect your elders. And, you know, that was the most embarrassing moment in time in my career and my life at that point. And I walked back from the track at Eugene to the hotel. I can't tell you how long, but it was a long walk. And I went and I locked myself up in the room and I never came out. I stayed in there the whole time when the NCAA championship was going on. She came back and she said to me, "Are you ready?" No, she called me to her room. She was like, "Are you ready?" I had no choice but to say I was ready. I had no choice. I had nothing. I had no money, nowhere to go, didn't know where, you know, stuff was coming from. You know, a lot of stuff was going on in my head. I was like, you know, what is going to happen to me? You know, all that kind of stuff. I was like, yeah, I'm ready. Went back and, you know, went back to Florida. We trained our ass off. And there's a 2 weeks later, that's when I, went under 13 seconds. And, leading up to, long story short, went to the world championship. And, I was like, didn't have a fast time. Ydanka Dankova was in my heat. And I called Bev, I was like, Bev, I had the least fastest time. She was like, girl, if you don't get off the phone in. Okay, I got off the phone and, went there and missed the finals by 100th of a second. And that year, that was one of the most defining moments. Gabe came back in 1992 where, I can't tell you, even when you pour water on me, you couldn't light up my fire. I was hot. And it came down to, went to the Olympic Games, the same, Olympic Games where Gail crashed. I crashed before her. I crashed in the semifinals and she crashed in the finals. And it felt so good. It felt so good that I know that I'm a threat to a whole lot of people. A whole lot of people didn't know who I was, where I come from. Yes, I'm from Jamaica, but I was so solid. And that was one of the most defining moments in my life that tells me, like, if I didn't fall, I was supposed to fall. Because it's something that race taught me a whole lot. It was not going to come to me that easy, come for me that easy. People who I train with, within, training and calling their name while we're training, come on, got medal. And I know a medal was there for me, but, it wasn't supposed to happen then. So, that woke me up. That showed me that, I have a long career ahead of me. Nobody's better than me. I can't put it out there and say, just because you're faster, or just because your technique is better, or just because. I wasn't afraid of anybody then. I know I can take on anybody that come my way. So that's one of the most defining moments, in my time that woke me up to, to show me the light that anything is possible.
And Brianna,
Yeah, can I just say
what yes.
I'm hearing is, like, in the midst of adversity, it shows you who your gladiators are, because in the midst of adversity, they're putting it all on the line. They were prepared to go to the next level as opposed to giving up and quitting. I so love this conversation.
Excellent. Brianna, yours, what was that defining struggle moment for you that woke you up and said, I've got to be better. I can do this?
I feel like I have so many of those, but I think the one that I can point out the most is the one in 2019 when our fall started at the World Championships. That season was so up and down for me that year. But I know that when I got to that World Championship that I was, I was prepared to, win that race. So even my body, I got, my everything was in line for me to do that. My training was starting to look better. My body weight was looking better. Everything was just all together in my mind for what I thought. But, at that moment, I had that one distraction that took it all away from me. So when that happened to me, I was devastated. I just couldn't believe that, oh my God, I waited this whole season to train so hard and I get to this championship and I just messed it up. So I'm, beating myself up about it. But then, I had a pity party for a little bit, but I had to realize, like you guys said, what was meant to be would be for me, but in that moment, it wasn't for me. So I just had to look at it like, what can I learn from this false start that I had? What is something that I can get from this? And what I got from having that false start is I can train as hard as I can get my body weight how I want it. But if I'm not into it mentally, if my mind isn't fully there, then things like that can happen. And I think that year, 2019, was one of those years that I was mentally not there. I was training, doing everything that I could to be the best, but mentally it just wasn't there. I had a lot going on within myself that I needed to correct. So I think just having that moment, realizing, okay, we're not just physical beings, we're spiritual and mental beings, and everything has to work in cohesiveness for you to be the best version of yourself. So that's what I got out of that moment, and that I carry with myself from now on, so that I can be my absolute best.
Exceptional, exceptional from all three of you. So Chris, Michelle told on me. I don't appreciate that. But it is what it is, because I'm sure Gail got that kind of coaching Bobby, because me and Bobby used to actually bump into each other pacing. Like we be looking at each other like, yeah, we about to kick each other's ass. And ain't neither one of us got on those spikes. And I know Boogie Johnson, Coach Boogie Johnson, has that same competitive fire. But I think that people see that in Coach Boogie Johnson, but they don't realize that there's another Johnson that is equally as driven and equally as passionate. And one of the things that I will say, Chris, is that I knew Michelle went on the very next year and broke the world record as a result of that loss. After she went through that loss, I let her have it, because she's better than that going out at the first round. But I came back and said, now what are you going to do about it? Are we going to move forward and train harder and be more focused? Or are we going to have a pity party? And her choice was, I ain't leaving with that mindset. I know that you had those moments with some of your best athletes. Can you describe one of those moments that was a defining moment for one of your athletes that you knew had it, but hadn't done it yet?
Well, I think in 2019, with the Olympic, well, not the Olympic trials, the World Championship trials, with Shamir going out in the final. Like, she was supposed to make that team, at least in my mind, and she's talented enough and she's good enough to make the team. And as before we went out, I told her, listen, we're gonna go out here and get out for the first 3 hurdles. We're gonna settle into your rhythm, and then we're gonna finish strong. And she got out there and she went 8 steps all the way to 9 hurdles. And so now it's like, oh, like it ain't gonna happen, because I could see her starting to fade away at hurdle 9. And then she clipped hurdle 10, stuttered and clipped hurdle 10 and finished in 4th. So I think that was a defining moment for me as a coach. But in order to get her to get back on the horse again, to be able to find the right words to say, and not to break her down, but to hold her accountable for her actions, and to understand that there's a lot to lose here. Obviously in college, there's a lot to lose, but as a professional athlete who's under a contract year, who's trying to make this team to solidify a contract for the next 4 years or so, that we didn't get it done. So I thought the message that I talked to her about is, we didn't get it done, you didn't follow directions, and I didn't prepare you to follow the directions. And we can't ever let that happen again. And then the COVID happened. And so you didn't really get a chance to redeem yourself. But I think that was a kind of the blessing in disguise, because that year she still wasn't ready. She still wasn't mentally where she needed to be. Now it's my feeling that she's ran faster than she's ever ran. She ran 50.5 indoors. She's physically and mentally in a better place. So I think that was one of the situations that was really tough on her, but also tough on me, because as a coach, you feel like if the athlete doesn't get to where you want them, that somewhere along the lines that you failed them as a coach. So as hard as the athlete takes it, I think the athletes have to realize the coach takes it that hard as well, when you know that the talent is there. And I've watched Bev coach from afar and seen her up close. I think she's at her calmest when she know the athlete doesn't have the talent to do it. When you're at your heightened in senses that you know that this athlete is supposed to get it done, and that's the ones that you want to get it done. Not that you don't want the other ones to overachieve, but these ones that you know need to get it done, that's when you're really into it, super into it, very intense, because you know that they can get it done. And the athletes must understand that we are here with you. We just don't have any control over the outcome once you line up on the track. And we like to feel like we do. But once
And in
you,
essence, we don't.
and once you get in that call room, that's it. You're done.
So
I picked
either
up a lot of
Dr.
grades
Shaw,
since I've been in Arkansas.
in other words, Dr. Shaw, it's that mental and spiritual component that, and Chris and Coach Johnson, I'm sorry, Chris, Coach Johnson also brought up a really good point. And I want to discuss that. I've had athletes run so fast in the warm-up area that other coaches are clocking them and watching. And then they get through that little chute, Gail. I don't know who went in the chute and who came out the chute. What is your mindset when you're sitting 15, 20, sometimes at the Olympic Games and World Championships, it can be as much as a 30-minute gap between when you leave your coach and when the gun goes off. And the higher the performance level, what is it like when that camera gets to you? Because the higher your performance, am I right, Coach Johnson? What that camera do when it get to them? It pauses.
It pauses. We can look in them eyes now. We see.
The googly eyes.
So what is it like getting on the line with, before you get on the line, what is it like going into that warm-up area and hanging out with your competitors, so to speak? What is your mindset in that shoot? And then what is it like being on the line and that camera does this? Because it always stops on Gail. It always stops on Michelle. It always stops on Brianna. What is it like? What is it like in the warm-up area for that long with your competitors? And what is it like? What is your mindset when that camera hits?
Who wants to take it?
Oh, I can go.
You, Gail. Oh, go ahead, Brianna.
Oh.
We'll start with the baby first. You go.
Okay, the baby.
Gail been going first all the time.
I can say when I'm in my right mind.
Still in my right mind. I like that.
When I'm in my right mind, I'm really not thinking about nothing. I try to feel like as much joy as I can so I can enjoy that moment and the opportunity that I have to compete and just showcase my talent. So I think that's where I am in that moment. But I think when I'm not in my right mind, I'm trying to prove myself when I shouldn't be having to prove anything. Like I already know when I should be confident in what I am doing instead of trying to prove something, just go out there and do it and execute the best race that I can. So I could say that's probably where my mind is, when it's right and when it's wrong.
Good. That's a
Gail?
great thing to recognize. Michelle or Gail?
Well, for me, I don't really care, to be honest. I'm the kind of competitor that, I don't pay attention to people. I focus on me. One of my downfall is I want things to happen so bad that I get over anxious and, explode. That was one of my biggest downfall. Just not stay calm and, not that I know that I don't know that I can. I know that I can. I know that I can do it, and I do it over and over and over again. But I have a tendency to get so anxious to get it done, and that brings an adverse effect of not getting it done.
Excellent.
I think for me, like you said, there's that moment from the time that you leave your coach and you hear the last things that your coach may say, or even later on, it was like Greg, my manager, something that he would say as I'm going into the call room. And I try to keep that in my head. When I get in there, I try to get my stuff checked out really fast and just get over to myself, because what's going through my head is I put in a lot of time. I put in a lot of practice. And I'm not going to mess it up. I always tell people that practice is rehearsal for the main event. And so what that means is that, like I tell the kids now, I'm like, this is, you guys are putting in deposits into the bank. That's what practice is. And I mean, I know Bri, I know Michelle, I know you guys know that we put a lot into practice. Those are deposits. So when you get to that track meet, like you talked about, Bri, as far as like, showing out, That's your time to take out your black card. You can't take anything out of the deposit. You can't go to the ATM and get something out that you didn't put in. We definitely have put something in, and it's up to us. Coaches can say whatever they want to say. They can pump you up. But when you get to that call, woman, you're in there, like you said, for 30 minutes, Beth, that's you. And you got to get into yourself to know that this is my brag moment. Not in a cockiness, but it's a confidence. It's a confidence to know that I did all this work. Now I got to get out there, and this is my time to shine. And I always used to say the Lord's Prayer and ask God to go with me and to show up and show out, because that's what I got to do. I've got to get out the blocks. The race starts, like I say 12. People are like, why do you always say 12 races? Because the first race for me is from the blocks to that first hurdle. And my goal is to beat you. And then every hurdle after that is a separate race. So if I mess up on hurdle 2, okay, that's not the hurdle, that's a race. That's behind me now, because I'm not looking behind me. I'm looking at the hurdle that I'm going forward. And I got several more races to get it right. And that was always my mindset. So like I said, I got in there, check my spikes out real fast, check my uniform, and leave me alone. And let me get over by myself so that I can focus. I see everybody. I know who's, because I mean, everybody that's there from however many heats are in there. And it's kind of weird that you warm up and then you sit there with your competitors. So you have to get into yourself so that you don't let mentally that get to you. And it's just in your head, knowing that this is what you practice for. And this is the moment. And yeah, the cameras are going to be on you. People always say, you look so mean. I'm like, well, this is my job. This is my job. I don't come to your job talking about what you do. This is my job. Now, afterwards, we can go shopping, we can hang out, we can do whatever. But at this point, for the next 12 plus seconds, leave me alone.
That is exceptional, because the queens of mean mugging gotta be Michelle and Gail.
But it wasn't a mean mug, though.
I know.
It's
just, it's like a game face.
Perceived it.
Yeah, that's
that game face that people perceive as a mean mug. But it's not. It's you so deeply into what you're focused on that nobody else matters.
Yeah.
And that's something, Coach Johnson, can we talk about this? Because we're in a social, not just social media, but a socializing environment. I don't know if I've ever seen in Michelle and Gail, them sit up and have a conversation in the warm-up area about how they doing and what they did last week. But now, Coach Johnson, you go into meets and you trying to corral your athletes. What do you feel about focus at a meet? Because I always say this to my athletes. If you go to a football game, a college football game, or a professional football game, which is what they are, college athletes or professional athletes, and you ask that NFL player why he on the sideline, come over here, I got something to tell you. Why is his performance more important than yours? So I always had my athletes of equal value because of what Gail, Michelle, and Brianna said. We put in the work. So I want to make sure they're as focused as they are. And so now we're in this social butterfly. I just want to be liked. I want to be friends. What is your feeling on that, having transitioned through so many years of athletes now?
Well, I just think that, number one, it starts with your core confidence. I mean, I think as much as we coach the athlete in terms of technical stuff and getting them in shape and so forth and so on, I think some coaches miss the boat on developing them from their core. Are you really have a core confidence? Are you really into yourself? As one of the young ladies just said, you got to find a way to get into yourself. Do you really trust yourself? Or are you really willing to? We have a mantra that we talk about all the time. It's trusting God, trusting yourself, and trusting your training, in that order. So we want to limit distractions as it pertains to the warm-up area, as it pertains to being involved with your friends. And
hold up, Coach Johnson. He said the reason for the isolation is not punishment. It's so that you could alleviate distractions away from your preparation and your mental and spiritual attachment to your dream. So it's not a punishment for you to isolate and focus. It's not that Michelle and Gail and Brianna are mean mugging. It's that they're so in tune to what's going on with them that they're almost oblivious to everyone else. And that is what Coach Johnson is saying that needs to be taught, but also the athletes, Coach Johnson needs to understand that that's part of that process. But that process, if you ask me, starts in practice. So is that something that you incorporate into your practice, that once my warm-up starts, I'm locking in?
Yes, well, and Brian got a taste when she was down here for a little training camp that we had. Listen, I'm a dictator. This is no democracy here. This is my practice. So I want you to put your phones down. And it's 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Put your phones down. If Tupac gonna coach you and Chris Johnson gonna coach you, Tupac gonna win every time. Tupac might get you emotional.
Tupac gonna win.
He gonna win every time. You see what I'm saying? You come in there, you got your headphones in, you jamming. I might want to play some Kirk Franklin today. I don't want him to say he got you too high. We're gonna mellow you out a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I want for you to understand that, listen, this is important. I don't care what your mama thinks. I want what your daddy thinks. I don't type on their computer. So they can't come to my practice and type on my computer. So I think the number one distraction is the phone situation. So we're going to alleviate the phone situation in practice. So it's nothing foreign to you when we alleviate it in a track meet. You're going to come in when we start to warm up. That's it. Ain't no hi, goodbye. Listen, excuse me, let me get by. Let's dial into what you're doing, because now I want to be able to turn up the intensity and control the narrative. If somebody's coming up and talking to you, then they're controlling the narrative. I don't want to have a sidebar conversation. Now, once you start to warm up, that you're on my time, you're on my clock. And once the race is over and we've talked, then you get back on your own clock. But we want to sit together as a team. We want to get to know each other and support each other in that vein. Lean on to me and your teammates as your source of confidence and anything that you need to be told or, fixated on. But I think the distraction comes in because let's face it, these kids always want to get along and they want to be liked by everybody. I don't necessarily care about you liking me in this moment. We're competitors. You chose to go to Texas. I chose to go to Arkansas. Let's see who's the best. And then y'all go be friends when the meet is over with. I could care less about that at that point. But right now, we need to focus on what the task is at hand. And this is the most important thing. For this amount of time, this is the most important thing in your life. Now,
for this moment.
For this moment, because life is about moments. We remember certain moments. Gail remembers certain moments. Yeah, she has a whole career of 25 years, but there are defining moments in her career that makes her career. Okay, so let's focus and live in that moment at this point in time that God has ordained for us to have, not to be distracted by someone taking you out of your moment. Because as soon as they take you out of your moment, you're not focused anymore. And I always tell the athletes, focus has nothing to do with thinking. And we thinking, and you come back and tell me what happened in the race, hell, you wasn't racing. I don't know what you're doing. You thinking, we at practice now. So that's why the warm-up is so important, to get everything that we need to fix or tweak. That happens in the warm-up. When you go out there and line up on track, I just want you racing. Hopefully, whatever we worked on in practice will transfer in the race. But at this point in time, we want to focus is to block out distractions. And your friends at this point in time, they're distractions.
Dr. Shaw, every time we host one of these, we keep saying there can't be any more new information. All four of them are dropping just like serious knowledge of greatness. And I hope everybody's catching on. I want to call on some people right now. I don't know if Coach Boogie Johnson is on. I don't know if Greg Scholars is on. And I don't know if Carol is on. But if you guys have a comment of knowing the history of these athletes, or even someone that's on that I don't know is on that was there with Michelle and Gail and Brianna, but I know these people were there. I know Latanya Wynn was there. I want to hear from you what you felt, just a quick snippet of what you felt made them great. And I know Coach Carroll came in to UCLA, Gail, as a senior. And I remember her saying, you were so far up here that it was almost as if you was on another team. She was so far superior. And I know that Coach Scholars had some comments about Brianna and Gail. I mean, Brianna, and I know he was around with Gail, and I know he knows Coach Johnson. So Coach Scholars, do you have
Hey
any
guys,
comments?
hey, I'm sorry, I just kind of jumped on. I had a lot of things going on, but I could probably talk all day about these guys.
Just
Gail,
give us a
I
brief
actually,
snippet on it.
okay, Gail, I didn't get to watch Gail develop other than as an athlete, but when I first met her as a young person, I could just say she was just unbelievably naturally talented. I mean, she's just an amazing talent. You knew that when you saw her as a high schooler. And obviously she got with the right program and continued to develop. Now, Brianna Rollins, I'm happy to say that I get to see her on a day-to-day basis, and her work ethic is just unbelievable. I mean, she's probably one of the strongest and most focused short hurdlers I've ever seen. You know, Boogie, without a doubt, takes them to the deep end, as he likes to say, on a day-to-day basis, and Brianna finds a way to keep floating. And I always tell her the story. She didn't know it, but the first time I saw her, the thing that amazed me was just her you could just see it in her demeanor and the way she carried herself, that she came to win. I mean, I the first time I saw her walk on the track, I asked one of our athletes, Charles Simmons, I said, Charles, who is that young lady? Because I was just sitting there and I just looked at her. I said, my God. He told me her name. I said, well, shit, I tell you what, there is no question. She came to kick some ass, because just the way she walked on the track, you knew she had a presence that just said, you know, you better bring it. If you came to compete with me, you better bring it. Now, you know, you said be brief. Now, Michelle Freeman, oh my God. I've had the pleasure to actually train with Michelle, and she is without a doubt just a beast. I don't know anybody more competitive and tougher than this young lady. I learned a lot just from competing with her, just on how tough she was when she stepped on the track. I mean, I've had the pleasure of taking starts with her, and Bev can tell you, I was there taking starts with Michelle one day, and I took her for granted. I was in the prime of my career, I thought. And I thought that, you know, Bev said, take some start with her. I said, okay, I'll take some starts with this, you know, this young lady. And the gun goes off and she's gone. And I said, well, wait a minute. Whoa. Let me take this serious, you know? And I got in the blocks again, and Bev started us again. And I was really going for it, and she was still gone. So I walked immediately over to Bev, and I said, Bev, what's the world record in the 60, in the 50? At the time, I think we were still running the 55.
55 hurdles.
And she told me, I said, shit, excuse the expression, y'all. I said, she's going to destroy that. She's going to break that record. And within a week, was it within a week, Bev? I think within a week, she did break the national record. But probably my fondest story of her would be when we had to run 300s. And again, you know, I'm at the time, I think I could run about 32 seconds in a 300. And I'm running 300s with Michelle Freeman. And again, you take off and you think, you get down the backstretch, you're gone. And all I could hear was her coming behind me. It was like I was being chased by some kind of wild animal. She was coming. She's laughing because she knows it's true. But I can say all three of these ladies, the thing that I think, if I think back on it, their strength, their physical strength was just unbelievable. I mean, Gail probably, I don't know, I can't think of weights, but I remember in high school, she probably weighed, I don't know, 105, 110, but you could see within a year or two of being in the weight room how amazing and how strong she got. And Michelle and Bri, I've watched them train for years in the weight. Well, Bri recently, but their strength is just unmatchable. I mean, and their work ethic. So I think, you know.
And I think that's important. I think that what he said is important. Their work ethic elevated them to another level. Coach Hayes, are you on? Give us, you or Coach Carroll both give us a briefing on Gail, because I know y'all were there training with her.
It's Coach.
Can we hear you, Joanna? Coach Hayes froze up on us. Is Coach Boogie Johnson here?
Yo, what's happening, Coach?
Yeah, Joanna, we'll come back to you. Coach, can you give us an update on your brother, the beast over here?
Hey, man,
people talk about you a beast. Woo!
Hey, man,
I better ask somebody.
I keep telling you, I always tell people I'm the nice guy here. Like I'm the nice brother. He's a little bit more intense than me, you know, and he always has been. But you know, he's a little bit more reserved than I am. I'm a little bit more outgoing than he am in certain situations. So, but I tell you what, you know, his the thing. I was listening and everybody on the panel, you know, talk, and I think the one thing that binds them all at the hip is that they just all have unmatched passion for what it is that they're doing on the highest level, whether they were athletes, whether they're coaching now or what have you. It's the same passion across the board. It's the same intensity and level of excellence across the board. When, you know, talking to Gail, I've always been just enamored with Gail and her athleticism, and talking to and coaching Bri and knowing Michelle, and you talk to them, they all have that same little twinkle in their eye where they do their best to be as congenial as they can be off the track, because most people don't get an opportunity to see that. But when they show up to work and they show up to do a job and they show up to win, that all changes. That all changes. And I think that to know them off the track and to know them on the track is two totally different sets of people. And I can see it, and especially ones have it. Mm-hmm.
You said that about Chris, and you said that about the three athletes on this panel. Mm-hmm. You have to be one way as a competitor, and it is sometimes in opposition, because I've always talked to Gail. I've always had that love for Gail, and her equally with me. I've never seen her and she didn't smile. Mm-hmm. But I know not to go that way when she competing. Same thing with Bri, same thing with Michelle, and same thing with Chris. I see that Joanna's come back on, and we gotta hear from Coach Hayes on these, because she's competed almost in an era where she's coached against Coach Johnson. She's competed against Michelle. She competed with and against Gail, and she knows Bri. So, Coach Hayes, what you got to say about these phenomenal athletes before they start dropping more knowledge? Because we need to take a break from it got so heavy. I started saying I hope somebody taking notes from me.
Yeah, it's almost too much, right? Yeah, well, first let me start. Obviously, Coach Johnson, Chris, he's somebody I respect a lot. I've learned a lot in the last few years from him. And him, you know, whenever I go anywhere, Coach Bev, I call them the twins. Boogie and Chris, man, they give me a hard time. They give me a hard time. They go in, they sandwich me, they double team me, but I just, you know, they're fun. He is like, I see him, he works with women, but I see how they respond to him, how they respect him, and how they want to run forward. And I think that's it. You want your athletes, you want them to want to run for you. They want him to be happy and pleased. So I respect his coaching, and definitely love being a peer with him, right? And
you went mute, Joanna.
Dang it! What I go mute at?
I think you were heading into Gail.
Oh, okay. Well, then I was saying, and then just with Bri, I've watched her. When I first saw her come on, I saw this one right here. I don't know what her airtime is, Coach Boogie, but I promise you, I always said, if they all take off at the same time, Bry's hitting the ground first. Period. Every time. I mean, she's always been impressive to me. And so I enjoy watching her. I think she's an amazing, amazing young lady. And I just always want the best for her. And yeah, I was in the air with Michelle and Gail, unfortunately for me. That really wasn't all that fair, but I gotta say, what Michelle kind of scared me. I ain't gonna that one right there, she means business, no games played. Just phenomenal to watch, and just her physique and everything about her was like, this one right here, she's a monster. And I was just, you gotta give respect where respect is due, period. Whether you compete against people or not, you respect where respect is due. And I always respected Michelle. And then of course, coming in as a baby with Gail, it was like, oh my, I'm like lining up against Gail Devers. Like, and I think what is so amazing about Gail and how she helped me in my career was that she didn't make me feel, once I got in it, I was never nervous anymore, because Gail just, come on, put her arms around me and like, let's go. Let me teach you. Let me help you. Let me walk you through this. So there was never.
You're mute again.
I'm so excited.
I don't know why it's doing that. That's so weird. So I was talking about, this is bad, talking about Gail and just saying, when I came in as a baby, she was there. Like, it was like, I was in awe of her, but then she's like, come on, I'll teach you this. Come on. Oh, you want to come here? I used to follow Gail around, right? Just, if Gail go, I want to go. Whatever Gail do, I want to do. Gail run, oh, she running that. Can I run that, Bobby? Wait, I want to do what Gail, because Gail was, to me, she was everything. And the fact that she was willing to take her time with me and talk to me and guide me is, I think for me, that's the best thing about her. All the accolades on the track and all the fast races and the hurdling, that's obviously respect, but her as a person is the best quality about her to me. She always took me wherever I needed to be.
I want to say this. The reason I did this, Dr. Shaw, was because I wanted people to peek behind the curtain and see how good-hearted and loving and compassionate these individuals were, because they were able to transform that. And Gail, I'll open it up with you, to a beast of a competitor on the track, and be able to separate the two and be okay with that. And sometimes we feel like when we're in the arena that we have to let people know that we're nice people, and that's a competitive environment. And also, like I said, with Coach Johnson, he's a great person, but when he gets into the arena, he's a beast. And so for the four of you, yes.
And can I echo that about Michelle? Because I've actually got to spend the most time with her. And if you don't know Michelle really well, because she is such a competitor and she can be very focused and over the top serious, please don't let it fool you. Michelle is like the sweetest sweetheart and the most kind and giving person I've ever been around. But you can't tell because she has that serious focus on her face, and she is a beast of a competitor. But I mean, there's been so many times where, her words of wisdom and her kind heart has helped so many people. I mean, myself included. She has I could do a commercial for how wonderful of a heart that young lady has. Michelle does, without a doubt.
And I think that's important to recognize, because sometimes people think this is who you are. And I want people to know that you have that ability, because I'm that way. And Coach Johnson is that way. You have to be when you're in a competitive arena, you have to step into that role as a gladiator. And then you have to know that role fits those circumstances and isn't to carry over into real life. But they're two separate entities all built into the same individual. So I'm going to now open it up for you guys to give words of wisdom and your final thoughts. And then I'll open it up and see if anyone has any questions. And then Gwendolyn Berry, of course, is going to close us out with some quick words of wisdom. So we're going to start with the baby and then move around.
She said me.
Just made me nervous. I honestly appreciate this Zoom meeting. I was a bit hesitant at first because I don't like being a center of attention a lot of the times, but I do appreciate all of y'all and the wise words that you guys have shared. It was just a great reminder of, just my purpose and why am I doing this, and what I need to do to push forward in the rest of my career. So I guess my words of wisdom I would say is to anybody that's doing anything, that as long as you just have passion and you work towards something and put God first, of course, you can do whatever you want. Anything is possible. You just gotta, have the right mind and right spirit and just the right team to push you through to where you want to be. So,
because I know that every single person on here has gone through something very traumatic and moved through that process. They're the least likely to have been successful. Gail and Michelle, I know that y'all have gone through some physical challenges. I know, Michelle, you went through some emotional challenges after the accident. You went through a lot of pain as an athlete. You come from as Brianna did, very humble beginnings. I'm sure Gail has experienced the same thing. And Gail went through a very traumatic physical episode and came back. I'm still mad about that, Gail, and broke the American record. That's a beast. So just end up with a talk about what that meant to you, what drove you past those circumstances. Because when you get an athlete that are, as Coach Johnson, that has gone through so much trauma and come from humble backgrounds, it just makes you pour into them even more because you want to see them overcome those obstacles and you see them fighting for it. So I'll start with both Michelle and Gail, and then Coach Johnson, I'm gonna bring that home with you.
Perfect.
Well, for me, I say be goal oriented. I am a very goal oriented person where I write my goals down and I actually sign them. It's like I'm signing a contract. And I remember doing this before my Graves' disease of setting down, I've got sticky notes all over my house of things that I want to accomplish, even now. And when I sign that, that means that I'm committed for as long as it takes. And what comes with that is like long range, mid range, and short range goals of how do I get to this part. And every day I've got to be working actively to accomplish some part of that so that when it's all said and done, and what I always tell people is I always look in the mirror after whatever task. I tell my kids, if you take a test, whatever it is, look yourself in the mirror after that task and ask yourself, did you do everything that you could do? Now you can tell something that's not true to somebody else, but you're looking at yourself and you already know the answer. So you have to be honest with yourself. That's even in practice. You go out to practice and, you're like, I didn't want to get out because I was trying to save it or whatever. Okay. Well, you can't be mad at yourself because the way you practice, you don't think it's going to turn on out of meat. I mean, what you practice, like I said, is rehearsal for the main event. So however you want that outcome to be, if you didn't put forth that effort, it's not going to be that way. There's no magic wand. It's about hard work. For me, with the goals that I had set before I went through my Graves' disease, that's what brought me back because I had signed that. Now, it may have been a little dusty after a couple of years of being undiagnosed, but it was still there. So I just had to brush it off and get back to work. And like, the saying says, nothing is going to come easy. I know it was going to be hard work. I remember being out there, and Joanna and those guys probably remember where I couldn't put on shoes. I'm out there and I've got on socks, and I remember Valerie Briscoe was like, Gail, look at your feet, and they're bloody. I take off those socks, change to some more socks. Bobby had brought a stationary bike out on the track, and while everybody else was warming up, I warm up on the bike. They do sprints, I go faster on the bike. They cool down, I go slower on the bike. Back then, you guys probably have no knowledge, but we had telephone books that were like this big. So I used to I couldn't go in the weight room because just couldn't be in there without shoes on. So I would Bobby being very creative and MacGyver, wrapping like telephone books on my hamstring so I could be out on the track lifting weights, doing anything that I had to do mentally to keep myself there. You can have all the potential in the world, but you can take potential to the grave with you if you're not willing to put the work in. So it's about what are you actively going to do? And those goals are what keeps you focused. Those goals are the things that you set on all over your house, on your refrigerator, on your mirror. First thing that you see when you get up in the morning, last thing you see when you go to bed. So if it's a goal that's driving you, then that means this is what I'm working for. And no matter what comes, I'm not going to let anything or anyone deter me from achieving that goal, because in life comes challenges. There's two things you can do when you're faced with a challenge. You can conquer it, or you can be conquered. And I know these three athletes and I'm saying three because Joanna, you're there. Athletes on this Zoom right now, I know where you've come from. I know what you've gone through, what you may still be going through, but I know what gets you there, keeps you there, and what you have that nobody can take away from you is your heart. Your determination. The reason that you became an athlete, what you learned from being an athlete, is that determination, that never give up attitude. So no matter how many things come at you, it's like we wear a suit of armor. You know, we mount up, we say our prayers, and we're in God's army. So that stuff is just going to bounce off you, and it's only going to make you stronger. It's going to tell your story. You're going to set the next chapter, because the story is not over until you say it's over. So sorry about that. Go ahead.
Excellent. Excellent. Coach Michelle and then Coach Johnson.
For me, it was my mom. You know, my mom it's 9 of us. And, you know, I see all the things that my mom did. And, you know, my mom was a domestic worker, and, you know, she would leave home on Sunday and we wouldn't see her again until Friday evening. And I said this because, you know, a lot of us, you know, weren't brought into this world in the best of circumstances, or the best of situation, or the best of home, or when people tells me that, you know, I'm from, you know, where I come from is, you know, what didn't make me, you know, successful. I said to that because I'm a testament of that. From the ghetto. I know, you know, I grew up in a place where I see gun, I see violence, I see, you know, men beating up on women, women are beating up on men and stuff like that. And, you know, what keep us as a family grounded, you know, even though she wasn't there, it was my mom. And I had my older sister. When my mom is gone, you know, I have another mom, which is, you know, was my older sister, who also, you know, kept us grounded, you know. And I just see my mom just, you know, work and, you know, haven't had the time to spend, you know, at home with us. And, you know, my dreams and my goal was to give it back to her. You know, one day see her just sit down and enjoy life. I wanted to give her everything that she didn't have when she was growing up. And I saw that, you know, no matter what it is, you know, my mom would eat and put gravy on rice and give us that little piece of meat that, you know, we can have. She would let us have, and she will go without. So, you know, she was the driving force and the driving factor in all the decisions that I make. I remember when I came up here to college, and I always tell my student athletes this, and even the recruits that I recruit now to present, you know, is something that, you know, I always said to them, you know, when I came up here in the United States of America, my grade point average was a 1.8 my first semester. And, you know, I have to ask myself, I was like, what are you doing? You know, what do you want? You know, do you want to go back home? Home to what? Where? Do you want to have kids, to be out there on the street? You know, what is it? You know, it's my mom. I will do anything to help my mom, to give her whatever that she wants. And, you know, just every time that I do something that wasn't right, I remember my mom. And she put lives in perspective for me. Anything. And when my mom passed, I thought I passed too. And I asked God, why did you not let me go with her? You know, but it wasn't my time. I'm still here to do the things that, you know, he wanted me to do. it just wasn't my time. So, it just goes to say that, anything that you want in life, it's not going to come easy. Never, ever going to come easy. And, I can remember, Bev is my coach, Greg has been there, Latanya's been there. I can't remember one year that I go through track and field, college, professional, that I haven't had to, go through something to overcome to get to. And the struggle was real. And, if you don't have that strong, solid, whether it's in your coaching or, it's that family, the family
That
bond that
support
you
system.
have, that support, strong support system. There are times I think that I'm strong, but, I crack at times. But it's that support that is there, that holds the glue together to help me, to be, and not just only with my family, there are other people, leading up to, this that helps me to be where I'm at today. So just know that, through life, nothing is going to come easy. And whatever it is, you have to work your ass off for it.
Excellent. Coach Johnson.
Wow. How do you follow that up?
How you follow all that up? But I know you the man to do it. So bring it.
But I think that, first of all, I'm thankful for all you young ladies that have allowed me to be on the stage with greatness, because you guys are great. And I think that the example that you guys have set forth as being athletes and coaches and just mentors to young ladies, more importantly, not just that you're mentors to ladies, but men as well, that I think that me and Boogie have been very fortunate. Barbara Jackie, I don't know if you guys know who she is, but she was instrumental in our
A&M.
As a track coach. Well, she also taught us how to swim, but she was a very hard-nosed coach, and really didn't take a lot of shit from anybody, if you will. Excuse my French.
Mm-hmm.
But I think,
Go ahead.
But I think the what we learned best from my grandmother, who raised us, was and taught us to have the burning desire to be the best, not to really focus on your circumstances of what you have or don't have, but the ability that you have an opportunity to be whatever it is that you want to be, if that's what you so choose to do and you work for. So I think that's the deal that's frustrating for coaches when things don't go the way we want them, because we're frustrated because we see that a young person has an opportunity that they're not exercising their right to really get the most out of it. So that's the frustration part for us, because we understand that if we didn't take advantage of the opportunities that were given to us, we wouldn't be in a situation that we would have to affect change on people at this current in our lives. So I think for me, it's the passion of coaching. It's really the passion of helping people realize their potential, getting them to be their very best, letting them understand that God didn't necessarily say it was going to be easy, but if you're able to endure something or some things, that you will be successful, not just in track and field, but in life. So, we want to be able to give that, which is our gift, away to others, to get them to see that they can be their very best. And obviously, we're working with a very talented group of people, and you want to help people. And I think in helping people, you also help yourself, and you give yourself the ability to reflect on where you came from, and help people to understand that, hey, it doesn't matter necessarily where you came from. It doesn't matter necessarily what you had or didn't have. You have an opportunity, and that's your greatest gift. So I also think that, everybody here is different, even though we have the same goals. But I think what makes us different, makes us great. Be unapologetically who you are. Okay, believe in something and get the people that are around you to believe in something. Trust in something. Bev, you're able to get these athletes trust. And then once you got their trust, then they were willing to run through a wall for you. And I think these coaches have been able to do that. And as athletes, they were able to do that. And that's why they were successful. So I think and then the last thing that I would leave you guys with, I think you have to be able to listen, to educate, and to evolve as a person and as a coach and as someone that's going to help other people be successful.
Exceptional words of closing. I think that the underlying thing that everybody brought here was that in life, you go through all these different challenges, but challenges and failures are part of the process of succeeding. And to take advantage of every opportunity, because the skill set that you're building in life now are the skill sets that you'll utilize in all forms of life. Because these individuals were successful at every stage, and they continue with the same mindset at every stage. Dr. Shaw, I don't know if you have a closing word, and we'll end up with a social justice moment from Gwendolyn Berry.
Coach Kearney, the only thing I would want to add is we look at these women, we look at competitors, and it's not about being liked or disliked, but being true to your own identity and true to your own sense of self. And that's what I've heard throughout the discussion. And it's that present moment focus that allowed these women to have the success that they have or continue to have. So it's been an honor to participate tonight.
Exactly. And I would just encourage everyone to really tune in to what Coach Johnson has said, Coach Freeman, Gail Devers, and Brianna, in that you have to take advantage of every moment and give that moment your best. Don't worry about what's going to happen down the road at the championship or at the meet next week. It's just, if you're in this moment at practice, let me lock in this moment. And every moment I lock in, I give myself a chance to be great. If at some point your leadership in whatever profession you're in, or your coaches who are your leaders in that moment, understand that they care. And sometimes in caring, that they're human and that they just are very passionate about your success. It's not meant to be belittling or mean, but it's to help you to overcome the doubts that you may have in your head, and to help teach you how great you really are. I always say this: when I say nothing, it means I expect nothing. And when I expect nothing, that means I don't believe in you. And so when a coach tells you, I know you have better, listen, it's not a criticism, it's meant as encouragement. So take that moment to find within yourself to develop the skill set that you'll use for the rest of your life. And that is a deep belief in you and all that you can do. Gwendolyn, can you give us just a quick minute or so of just words of wisdom in this time of social injustice? Because the one thing I always say, and I want everyone else to hear this, if we allow an injustice in any part, then we become part of the problem. And even if all you can do is speak up, or if all you can do is say hello to someone who doesn't look like you, who doesn't do what you do, you never know if that person didn't need a kind word in that moment. So I'm going to allow her to speak, and then we will end this call.
Hey everybody, I can't really be in my camera because I'm still working out, but I do want to say that I am happy to be a part of this conversation. It's a lot of wisdom that has been spoken. It's hard to come after everybody who has had so many great words of encouragement, but I do think one of the main ideas and one of the main things that has been said on this call is definitely stepping into your power. I feel like all the women who have spoke, all the coaches who have spoke, they're really giving us those defining moments. And those things really do change your life. But if you don't step into it, whether you win, whether you lose, succeed, or fail, you really have nothing to come from it. So step into your power, be prepared to step into it, be afraid if you have to, but step into your power, use your power, and never let anybody else define you. Let your moments define you. Let your life define you, your passions, your purpose, anything that you strive to do, give it your all. And I feel like that's the biggest thing I took from the conversation. I really don't have really too much to say because everybody has said literally everything. I want to say, Brianna, you know, I stand you, I love you, I adore you. You are a huge icon to me, and you know, I wish you all the best. I support you, even though we don't see each other too much because I'm a hammer thrower. But thanks for thanks for allowing me to speak, and I'm just grateful to be on the call today.
So I just want to thank everyone who tuned in. I want to apologize to my Facebook family in that I forgot to post the link on there. So our numbers may be a little low because I did not post the link. That was on me. But for everyone that was on this call, I hope that you pass the information on, that you got something out of this that you can pass on to something else, someone else, because that's the power of community. Be a positive contributor to someone else's journey in some way. So God bless you. I thank you, my panel and my expert, for taking the time to be on this call. I love you all and I so appreciate you. God bless and thank you. Good night.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.